come back to the Career Center and visit us, as we have great opportunities for you guys in helping you navigate the job search strategy within the U.S. My team and I would also like to thank our panelists for today and all our panelists who are giving here this week and giving our students advice and utilizing their expertise in giving information out to our students. We have a great panel for you guys today. Please, at the end of the session, you guys will all receive a survey. Fill out the survey, as you will also receive a great PowerPoint presentation with lots of useful resources that can help you in navigating your job search within the U.S. Right now, I would like to introduce Sanaz Babadi. She's also another career counselor who will be navigating or who will be moderating the panel today. Thank you.
Thank you for coming today. My name is Sanaz Babadi. I welcome all of you here, as well as our panelists. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to start off and ask them some questions and then open it up to the group so that all of you can ask them questions as well. So the first question would be, please give us a brief description of your career path and current position.
My name is Kim. I'm the president of the Career Plus. What we do is the Korea business marketing training to the US and also the recruitment for the Korean companies. Our clients include LG, Hyundai, and about 300 other SMBs, small to medium-sized businesses. My first employment was Samyong in 2004, and then I worked for Samsung Electronics, mobile phone development team for 3 years, and I also worked at the law firm and then reporter for about 2 months. But Korean reporter is very hard life, so I decided not to do that. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Sarah Gunther. I'm a content associate at Party Earth. Hopefully you know by now that Party Earth is an international media and entertainment company. And what we do is basically review the best social scenes in cities all over the world. So right now we're in 13 cities in Europe, as hopefully you've seen from the guidebooks that we're giving to you as a gift to those students right now. And we're in 6 cities in the US. So I went to USC, but I'm really happy to be here talking to you guys. I actually immediately started off in the film industry and worked in development, so with Hollywood producers and writers and filmmakers to get scripts to a place where hopefully we could go make a movie. And I was really lucky enough to be a part of several movies that got made, some that were creatively really inspiring, like Love and Other Drugs, and Justin Timberlake's film In Time that came out earlier this year, and others that were not as creatively inspiring but very lucrative, like the Big Mama's House 3 movie that came out last year, and some awful spook movies as well. But I came to Party Earth about a year ago, and I wear many hats at the company. It's a startup, so it's a very entrepreneurial environment, and I do everything at the company from recruiting all of our writers and photographers that we hire locally in all of our cities. I also manage our photographers, and you know, we make sure that all of our content is completely accurate before we publish it, and I'm a big part of that process as well as marketing and some managerial stuff too. Thank you.
Hi everybody. So my name is Jean-Marc. I came to the USA My name is Jean-Marc. I came to the USA in 2006, and prior to that I was selling computers and software at HP. I was in the IT for 10 years, and my background was about sales and marketing and software. And I decided to move to the USA in order to make something meaningful and eventually help others. That's why I quit my job at HP, and I went back to school to learn about the American culture and how to start a business. And in 2009, I created U in the USA. And my mission is to help foreign students secure the career that inspires them the most. Basically, I'm a career matchmaker for foreign students. And U in the USA is the company that I'm working on.
Thank you. What has been your experience in hiring international students or getting jobs for international students?
On my side, I hired several interns, and they were all foreign students, both from UCLA and UCLA, and from different nationalities, Japanese, Korean, French, and also Chinese students. And I help also and coach foreign students find internships and jobs here in Los Angeles.
We have a lot of international employees, both interns and full-time as well, especially considering the size of our company. That's one of the reasons I love working at the company. I think it attracts a lot of international people just by nature of the kind of content that we produce and the fact that we have a global audience. So it's a great place for international interns and employees to work.
Before you begin, could you name some specific examples of internships that international students would be able to apply for at your company? Sure.
Any of our internships, actually. So we have 5 different programs, everything from social media internship, as well as marketing and product development internship. And we have internships that focus on our calendar of events as well. So if you're really interested in sports, or you're a total fashion nut and love global fashion or music, we have internships geared towards those specifics as well. And one of the great things about being an intern in our company or any smaller company, I would think, is that our interns are very involved and are given very meaningful tasks. So, partly because of that, we do take the hiring process pretty seriously, even for interns. And we customize our internships based on our interns' strengths and interests as well. So if you're interested in a couple of different aspects of those things, as well as media and entertainment is our other program, we can customize it so that you can incorporate all of those or a couple of those things into those programs.
All of our clients, the companies, and the internship programs. So, but maybe 3 that on top of my mind maybe of interest is the LAX. They're currently doing new construction program, and the Samsung Sheila as well as Lotte are entering bids to become their retail store. The airport retail store is to about $1 billion USD a year, and they're having some global internships that you might be interested in. Also, there's a Voight in Southern California, Orange County real estate company. They have $11 billion for revenue, and they do commercial industrial properties. And another career testing institute here in Los Angeles, they are looking for internship right now. We entered their business entry into the U.S. and also their recruitment. So, if you are interested, these or others, regarding your question for experience in hiring international students, I do not feel that there are much difference compared to regular students. However, if we are able to categorize them, there are students that are very career-oriented or just looking for a job, right? And then there are students that are trying to maintain their lifestyle or more of a nomad, trying to willing to go anywhere and get a job. And then the third that we really prefer and that we recommend to our clients are students who really think about value orientation and truly focused on how to add value to the company or the family, or even if they have political views or non-profit views, they will, that comes out in their interviews about how they want to really to add value to the company. So this third category is most preferable to us in my experience.
Thank you, SK. Is it safe to assume that both your company and Party Earn provide internships in a broad range of areas for students?
Every different industry renewable energies or the textile, fabrics, automobile. Automobile is very large. Here in the US, actually, there are three industries that Korean companies have the most money in. The first is automobile, second, renewable energies, and then third is mobile phone. The mobile phone, the revenues all go back to Korea, so not much money left here.
Thank you for clarifying. Did you want to make a comment?
Sure, yeah, I think that we do have a wide range of internships, and that gives, we have a lot of different interests that students are attracted to. But one thing they all have in common is obviously an interest in our site, and what we do, the kind of content that we produce, and that's something we look for in all of our interns as well.
Thank you.
Among the students that we help recently, we have students who were looking for opportunities in social media and video games. So we have some students. Right now we are working with the South Korean students and French students to export medical equipment to South Korea, and also helping people in as accountant get to another level. So we have a large variety of internships opportunities that we see. And here in Los Angeles, I see a lot of potential for people in mobile payments, startups, working with startups, green technology as well. And there is a huge movement where basically Los Angeles is happening to become the next Silicon Valley, just after the north. So I see a lot of potential for people in this area.
Thank you. This is a question for all three of you that just emerged in my mind. So if students were to contact you, how would you begin to, because you come from a broad range of different career, you have connections to various internships and jobs, like how would you begin to help that person determine where, what, if they're not clear, they just want to get an internship, they want to get something on their resume. Of course, from a career counseling perspective, it is better to be more specific about what area you want to get an internship. It's very important. But if they really don't know, like, how do you approach assisting them?
Okay, I'm going to use this example of a Russian student. He came from Europe. He was doing an MBA and looking for an internship here in Los Angeles. And he came to me by saying, I'm looking for an internship in marketing and communication. So I say that's a great topic that is very broad and vague, because many people are already doing marketing and communication. So what we did is we work on understanding what he was really passionate about, what was very important to him beside marketing. And I found out that social media and video games were the thing that really, every day he would wake up to play video games, and he liked the social media. So what we did is we combined both the skills in marketing and sales and his passion for video games. And then we look for companies or publishers that were looking for young people like him, young talents, to promote those games using social media. Just by doing this and only focusing on this type of opportunity, we find some companies, as soon as the students arrive in Los Angeles, you arrive in February 15, 2 weeks later, the company was ready to hire the students because they had the right match. He was capable to understand the needs of this company and at the same time do what he loves to do. So that's one of the things that we do.
Wow, thank you.
I think for us it's slightly different because we don't place students, we hire them. So we do have a lot of students who apply who just have a general interest either in being at an entrepreneurial environment or the digital media platform or just sort of a love and passion for our site and company in general. And one of the things we sort of suss out in the interview process is really honing in on what your interests are and where your strengths are to help decide where our company would be best fit.
If the panelists, I think, quite accurate. Maybe one thing you can add is if you have the particular company, industry, or the segment that you're interested in with the read it out into your resume, and then that really helps us allocate you to the right company. And when you do that, also entering your experiences, what experience or research or project that you've done inside the company, what the company may want.
Thank you. So at the end of the day, it is important to know what you want and what kind of internship you want to go for, and then keeping your kind of long distance career aspirations in mind and working backward towards that. So thank you. As an employer or someone who recruits, what is the greatest challenge that specifically international students face during their job search process? Like, what is it that they really get stuck on during the whole process? Would it be the resume? Would it be the interview? Would it be the job on the job itself? What is that area that they have the most challenging?
What I see is many of them, including adults, have a problem to brand themselves. Use the same analogy as companies is to differentiate themselves in this very competitive market and to tell a company, that's why I'm here to help you, that's why I'm the best candidate to do this job. I understand your pain, I understand your needs, this is what I'm going to do if I were hired in this company. So personal branding, which is defining your unique promise of value, is probably the most difficult thing for young students, foreign students, and even adults. That's what I see.
Even domestic students.
Even domestic students, yeah.
I don't know that I necessarily see a difference on our end with intern candidates in terms of international candidates versus domestic candidates. I think you guys are all going through a similar process, which is, I don't know what I want to do, or I think I have an idea, but I'm trying to sort of figure that out, which, you know, we're all in the same boat as you guys. And so I think that process is very similar, and the challenges are the same. Which is, as Jean-Marc said, that branding yourself is really, really important, and doing your homework before you go into any interview, whether it's for an internship or a full-time position, to make it clear that you don't just want an internship so you can have something on your resume, but you have to have this internship, this is perfect for you, and sort of being able to articulate that. Thank you.
I explained the topic, then go back to the question. Is that you go up into society, your situation now becomes very similar in the sense that maybe you might not know what you want to do, but because of societal influences and topics or issues, you decide to choose a certain company, and then you research and develop yourself to enter into that company. You focus on a certain segment or area to make yourself more attractive to that company. But I'm talking for a Korean company. As you go up into a Korean company, you might have worked in the marketing segment. But if you do well there, the company sends you into completely different research and development segment. Maybe after there for 2 years, then you go to some accounting or this kind of thing. So the company basically erodes that kind of the specialization, especially in Korean companies. So what I can say is, don't be too, just because you don't know what you want to do right now, but if you have the initiative to find where some place that you might want to succeed, and keep going forward to it, and that kind of situation. And the original question is, I think the greatest challenge that international students are always facing. You must have 3 senses. In the sense of law, right now you are all, the world is based on nationalities. Your citizenship is foreign country. You want to get a job here, you must understand your status, whether it be getting visas or having the lawyer fees or any other kind of different aspects that the company has to deal with when having international students. You cannot escape. So whenever I deal with international students, sometimes they are not very clear on these issues. So they just think we can go in anywhere, but not always the case. And also think about the company's situation. Sense of culture as well. Here America is very diverse and meritocratic. As you go up the ladder, you must understand that American companies have a certain way of thinking, and that there are expectations that are done for their corporate culture. If you think about yourself as an international student, what kind of disadvantages or advantages you have compared to the American candidates. It's very important to see how if you are able to succeed compared to that competition. The last thing is the really hardest challenge I get from entry-level students is sense of the business. The business environment is essentially you are taking money from some other business. Because you go to someone else and give you your money. But it must be, if they cannot trust you, when you go into companies giving you their money, if they do not trust you, they will not hire you, and they will not give you their money. Up till now, maybe it has not, usually it has not been your money, maybe your parents or some law or something else. But now, when they have a clear sense of this one, then they are able to add more value and the process for this.
Thank you. So, SK, I'm just trying to clarify, is that students should know what they have to bring to the company beforehand. So that's kind of like branding. What are you bringing to the company, and for them to know what their strengths are and how to brand themselves to say, this is what you need, this is what I can bring to your company prior to applying.
Yes, that's the initial stage, but at the same time, you can basically start up in any department, but if after in that department you show that you have the initiative and motivation to do really well to succeed, they will put you into any department and know that you will succeed in that department as well. So that's the kind of the HR development system that Korean system people have. Even in the Samsung Sheila case, which I'm dealing with now, a person in charge of handling the retail store for the business entry in the US market is originally from the construction industry and been there for over 15 years. But suddenly changed to retail. The reason why is because they know they can handle the business situation very well and accurately without any compromise or mistakes. Just additional points.
Thank you. So what would you say are some general weaknesses that international students, and this is very general, it's not specific to anyone, any weaknesses that international students possess as an intern and employee, and how could they overcome it?
Okay, I would say not understanding the American business culture would be the first one. Understanding how things evolve on campus is a good point when you are students, but as soon as you leave the school, it's another world. Just when you go down and you go after Wilshire, Wilshire and Westwood, it's another world, and you have to understand how those people operate, the question of ethics, the way you handle interview, the way you network. This would be the second big point, which is I see often students who are not necessarily comfortable going to networking events and get to know other, which could generate and help you leverage opportunities at one point. So business culture and networking would be the main 2 points where students could work. And often students say that we don't know what to say to those people when we go to those events. And I say, you know, it's like when you get to know a new person, you ask questions. It's no different. When you try to meet and make friends with somebody else, you ask questions. Where do you come from? What do you like? It's the same thing, except that you try to use words that are more compelling to the person. But if you go to an event and all you care about is to try to understand what the person does, you will be fine. And then the person will see that, oh, maybe during the entire day, the person was worried about doing some project, and finally one person who really cares about me or she or he say, okay, I can eventually spend more time with this person, and asking that person, oh, by the way, what do you do? What would you like to do in the future? May I help you? So the networking should not scare you because you don't have a job right now or you don't have a title. As long as you go and you show interest in the person, why did you decide to take this job? What brought you here in this networking? What are you looking for? Eventually the person might say, oh, right now I'm working on an international contract. Oh, by the way, I'm also international. My father or my parents can eventually introduce you to some people in my country. Oh, I know this language, maybe I can help you. I was at an event the other day at UCLA, and that lady was trying to go to Turkey. And she said, yeah, I may have to buy some guides and to learn about the country. I said, why don't you go and ask the students who are already here more about their country? They will be happy to help you. It's the same thing. Business people have the same issue that you may have at one point. They go back home, they have questions regarding your job or not. And as long as you make them talk about themselves, they will be happy to at one point tell me about what you need, how I can help you.
I would just add on to what Jean-Marc was saying, that everyone has to start somewhere with networking, and one advantage that you guys would have if you were in your home country most likely is that your parents have a network, you have family friends that have networks, and you guys are here and you're starting over probably, and that's definitely probably a disadvantage to some of your American peers. So be aggressive with networking. It will only serve you well. And everyone had to start somewhere, so you definitely should not be afraid to approach people and just ask about, professionals love to talk about themselves and their story. So especially if you aren't asking for a job, or at least right away, just asking about what their story is, that's a very organic way to start to expand your network here.
My perspective is a little bit different since most of my career was in Korea. Nowadays, I found that the students really have very good answers for everything. The networking, I'm sure for this group too, it won't be much of a problem once they get used to it. But for me, and most Korean business perspective is when people ask you, what are you going to do, what do you want to do after, it's basically asking, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? And what kind of work do you enjoy? And the question I think mostly concentrating on is the work part. What kind of work do you enjoy? That means what do you do? Eventually there will be some work. So even if you will be a lawyer, you might be in court, but 90% of your time will be doing paperwork. And for a doctor, saving lives, at the same time there will be lives that will be gone. And there will also be uncurable illnesses, and must be able to solve these kind of issues. So a strong work ethic is very, I think, difficult to find within the entry-level students, simply because many have not been to the actual work environment. So I would consider that a weakness. But if you are able to show that and prove that to the interviewer, that becomes a very strong point compared to other students. Like I mentioned before, many students have very good answers nowadays, but having that whole work ethic is a big prospect.
Thank you. Part of interviewing does require you to have good answers, and in order to have good answers, you need to know yourself enough to know, and it goes back to branding, how to present yourself and how to match the job responsibilities of the internship or the job to what their needs are and how you fit into their organization through your resume, through your cover letter, and through your personal presentation. So it really goes back to knowing yourself and knowing what you can do to the company, for the company, how you can contribute, and how you stand out. It really all goes hand in hand. from your experience, how have international students contributed to the organizations that you've been involved with?
I would say on my side, they brought the international perspective that I didn't have about some of their countries. I came from France and I know a little bit Europe, but I didn't know enough about Asia. So some Asian students brought interesting feedback and show me how to better, once again, brand the service that we provide to the Asian market. It could be Japanese or South Korean. And I would say most of them, they were very curious about learning new things, how to do them. And they have this desire to succeed because many of them are already making a lot of sacrifices to come to the USA. They need parents, friends, they have to spend a lot of money to go to school, and they don't necessarily understand the environment and the culture. So, and back home, some people eventually are expecting to see them succeed. And so this creates a hunger, they want they have this desire to succeed. Now, having the desire is a good thing, but knowing how to use that and to leverage that so that you can help a company is another story. And I would say that my best advice is become obsessed about trying to understand what the company is doing and what are their needs, so that at one point you can leverage opportunities.
I think that international students and employees in our company are a huge asset. We are a global company and we have a global audience, and part of what makes our content spot on is having a lot of different people at our company that come from different backgrounds in different countries, in different cities within those countries. So all of that is a huge asset to us, not only to make sure that our content appeals to, both those who are traveling to the city for the first time, but also locals who live in that city, as well as, any languages that you guys speak that some of us may not speak, is all a huge asset, so definitely.
Basic work processes and what you must do is very similar whether you're in America or Korea or India. But the international students, the most advantage that you offer companies is you will truly understand the pros and the negatives of each type of the corporate culture. It's very important because adding on to the basic work process to understand that compared to your clients, what they want is absolute necessity. And I give one story. We handled the international entry into Korea from a golf retailer, golfsmith, #1 golf retailer in Korea, and they had a joint venture with Korea, and about $50 million. And about a few months ago, we arranged a meeting with them with Golf Zone, the #1 retailer in Korea, for a joint venture in Orlando for a golf tournament. And Golfsmith's CEO basically was preparing to enter the contract signing stage. And the Golf Zone CEO from Korea took his hand and shook his hand and was smiling and very happy. And the Golfsmith CEO basically asked us, what's he doing? It's strange. About to cancel the contract. And then we had $50 million out the door several months ago. So not only explaining what it means in Korea, saying that's a lifetime business relationship. The problem is not that one, that's just done by a simple explanation, but understanding at that point that this person will never be able to understand that kind of the behavior or customs or the different corporate culture that could potentially end or make the contract succeed. So you as international students who can understand these kind of things is understand truly the pros and the cons of each one, be able to manipulate any kind of con, make it into a pro for a successful business. That's I believe the #1 advantage.
So the candidate candidate shook the person's hand in an inappropriate way, and that almost or maybe caused the whole deal?
I'm sorry, I must have misspoken. Basically, the Goldsmith CEO had a joint venture with the South Korean CEO of retail, Goldsmith and Goldston. Both CEOs were at the table meeting together to sign a final joint venture contract for $50 million. And the Korean side CEO shook his hand, saying, in Korean, kind of, I love you. This kind of very emotional, gratefulness.
In Korean?
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
And the Goldsmith American CEO automatically kind of just turned his head and asked him, what's he doing? It's strange. What's wrong with our company? Then in company, that means it's very common to shake hand and kind of hold their hand, saying you are a lifetime business partner. But he not understand this and thought it was very strange. So we had to mediate the situation.
Were you able to save the deal?
Of course, those deals, it's not very easy to break.
Wow, thank you for sharing that story. It definitely is really important understanding cultural differences between different countries. I can definitely say that in Farsi, one figure could mean one thing and a different figure could mean another thing. So just having that awareness is really important. So during interviews are a good opportunity to share your insights and what you can do for the company. But a lot of the questions, some of the questions that you get asked are really hard to answer, especially when we get asked, what is an area of improvement that you would like to share with the community? So what advice do you have for students in how to answer that question?
Repeat the question, so.
What type of response are you seeking when you ask interviewees, what is an area of improvement that you would like to share with the community? So in other words, what is your weakness? It's kind of hard to come out and say, yeah, my weakness is making presentations, or my weakness is that I'm shy. How do you even say that when part of your job is to make presentations? So how would you coach, or what could students say to overcome and be honest with you about what their weakness is, but at the same time overcome that challenge?
I would say the first thing is to talk about the positive points first, and we assure the person about these positive points. And if you have to talk about some weaknesses, is to be honest and also to come up with a plan. I'm aware, I'm short with this aspect. This is what I have been doing so far to work on this. Those are my results. And if I were hired today, that's the type of help that would be from you and your team. And I already imagine how we could make this thing work. Coming up with a plan, an idea, and some type of deadline would probably make the person feel more comfortable about this.
I totally agree. I think that as an employer, obviously we're looking for you guys to be honest. So we do want you to answer the question honestly of what you think your weakness is. But I think that coming up with, offering words of this is how I combat that problem, or these are the this is sort of the progression I've made over the past. However, coming up with a specific example to say it's not as much of a weakness now as it was a year ago because I've been doing X, Y, and Z, but I continue to work to improve it. I think is definitely something that should make you feel okay about getting that answer, but it's something that everyone is asked. So you don't only one. It's just a matter of definitely showing your plan and showing your strategy of not only being in touch with yourself, but not being okay with just resigning to the fact that you have this weakness that you may not be pleased with.
What if someone says that I don't have a weakness? Nothing wrong with me?
I would probably say that's your weakness, that you're not able to admit it. I mean, everyone has weaknesses, you know, we're all human. So I think that that's not the way to go in answering that question.
What would you say about that future employee if they were to say, I'm perfect, no weakness here, would you hire them?
I mean, it's not just based on that question, it's based on a lot of other components, but, you know, you want an employee, sort of like what we've all been talking about, you want someone to be a part of your team whom you can trust and who's going to level with you and be honest with you, and that's not a good indication of that quality, I don't think. So I just wouldn't recommend giving that answer. Thank you. Yeah.
So it's very easy to counter by contesting this statement. But if in any case, if you are asked what can you improve upon or what is your weakness, just remember the three things. Give real life example of failure. And second thing is put it into the context of the group and team, not just your individual self. Put it in the entire context situation. And when you give that analysis, give the statistical analysis about it. And even if you fail or succeed, whatever, just answering these 3 points, and that makes good answer.
So basically say what your weakness is, how you resolved it, and the context behind what happened and how you resolved it, basically? Because the question is, what is your
real life failure example? Put it into context of the group or the team, not just your individual self. But include your individual self, but put it into that actual context. And the third thing is to give your statistical with numbers analysis about that situation. But then the company knows that you have good thinking mind.
What are 3 skills or attributes you think successful employees share?
I see 3, and among those 3, I see one big one is trying to show and demonstrate that you are here to solve a problem, and you have this expertise to solve that problem. That's the big one. Whenever you go to a meeting and interview, the person is expecting to talk about their problems. Usually they will ask you questions about you, but at one point, as a recruiter, you want to know that the person understands why they would be hired to do what. So talking about this problem and showing that you understand and you can see that you have a vision for the solution. That would be the first thing. Leadership skills would be the next one. Taking initiative and show respect, and integrity. Integrity would be the last one.
I think in general and in our company specifically, the first thing that probably comes to mind is team play, being a team player. We really emphasize, you know, we're all part of a team and we're working towards a common goal, and we all are there to pitch in and help each other out because it's all part of the greater success of the company. So that would be the first thing. You know, tenacity, the ability to follow through is definitely something that if you possess that quality, you are way ahead of your competition, because most people just don't follow through the way that they should, and that's often how, if you fail the first time, that follow through can end up actually very much getting you to achieve your goal. And the third, probably the ability to adapt and sort of roll with the punches in new situations, which I would say as an international student, I think that you guys have that advantage in sort of being able to prove that to employers over some of your American peers, just by nature of you came from a different country. And that's, you know, a very real world example of that you were able to adapt and acclimate to, you know, UCLA and sort of the culture around you, and that, you know, is also evident in your work as well.
So top 3, the skills in any successful employee, the 3, you must be expert in your field. So if any question comes to you, that employee must be able to answer correctly, accurately, and right on the spot, and uncompromising answer. Second thing is you must have most understanding of the organizational behavior, what the corporate organization and your role in how it works, where it's going, and how you are going to situate yourself in that organization. So many employees, I see, very happy in their spot, in their current job position, and do not think about the entire aspect of the corporate. That employee will stay there for a long time because he likes the way he will be. But of course, he raised in the ranks. But truly successful employees, they able to understand this aspect. And the last one would be must be able to attract and maintain external relations. And both our panelists mentioned about networking, but not simply networking, but be able to attract and maintain the relations that you make with other people. And to keep doing those three things, and you will succeed.
Thank you. So, as you're doing interviews or helping people perform a successful interview, what advice do you give to your the person that you're working with about how to show how they're interested in the position or company that they're applying for? So how do you show that in the interview, both verbally and non-verbally?
Asking question about the company culture, the organization, it's a very important point, because when they hire, they have basically three questions. Is this person going to do the job? Will be able to do the job? In the team that we have, is the team will love this, working with this person. And understanding the culture in the team is very important. And asking questions about why do they create that position? Why do they need that? Why are they working on this specific problem? Understanding their why is probably the key things for you, because if they start a company, there was a mission behind, and there are some value, there are some specific reason, and if there is an opportunity, you need to understand. You need to spend about 60% of your time during this interview to get to the person, talk about, okay, this is why we need that, this is the effect. If we don't work on this project, this is costing us so much money, we can't afford that anymore. Or if we don't do that, we're gonna fail. If we don't launch this product, that's how the competition will work. So for you, your job is to understand this problem before you leave the first interview. And I would say the last thing would be understanding the value of the person, so that you can see at one point if you can fit with this value. It's not about looking for a job. You want to make sure that the value of this company resonates with yours, because if you are to work for this company for years, you want to make sure you will be comfortable, and value are very important. And you want to talk about this. The person will maybe feel a little bit emotional at one point, but you want to address that point, because that's key, especially for the long term. For foreign students, when you have to go through visa, etc., you want to make sure this is the right choice for you, for both parties.
So, my answer is a little more narrow, just to answer the question of how to show your interest in a company. I think it's two things. One, cover letter is so important when you're applying to a job. A strong cover letter will very much put you ahead of your competition, and maybe the difference in being called in for an interview or not. So in your cover letter, I would make sure that it's evident that you've done your homework about the company, and you don't just focus on speaking about yourself, but it's enough to pique the company's interest that this is obviously someone who wants to be here and doesn't just need a job, but again, wants this job. And when you're in the interview, it's the same thing as Jean-Marc was saying. There are questions that you can ask in the interview process that show that you've done your homework, whether it's recent articles, if the company has gotten pressed for some reason, you can reference those articles, or for example, with our company talking about, or with any company really talking about specific products, things that you like, or even if you have certain ideas to bring to the table, those are all great times to do it because it shows a specific interest in this particular company or organization.
I found yes, those are the exact points, and maybe I can talk about what basically in order to make those points become fruitful. There are, I think, the three characteristics that essentially accentuate those points. First one is loyalty, especially for Korean companies. If they find you have a very sincere sense of loyalty, that means that you will stay a long time in the company and do the work responsibly and faithfully. The second thing is humility. Humility in the sense that Korean companies, the managers really do not want someone to talk back or make the team feel very uncomfortable. So the essentially humility means doing what others tell you to do and not making them worry. Right? Those are two essential characters of humility. So showing that sense to your experiences was a good effect. And then the third thing is the modesty, is the not over advertising your accomplishments. The most memorable the candidates for interviews is really truly the modest person. That person really sticks in the recruiter's mind a long time, and the recruiter tries to put that person into the job. And the company wants that person to, establishing your accomplishments and these things, of course, that's a given, and having a creative mind. But to do those, you must have these three foundational layers intact.
Well, I'm so glad you touched on that point because then how do you, as an employer, how can you tell if someone's over-branding themselves or under-branding themselves? Because you're saying be modest, so where's the point where you go from modesty to over-branding? Like how can you tell if you're over-branding yourself or if you're being modest?
Many people think that's very difficult, but it's actually very easy. Just maintain, tell the statistic facts, just how it went. You don't need to put I too much into it. I did this, I did that. Just say how it went, and already you're the person in the chair that they're interviewing, so they assume it's you. So you can talk about other people too. It won't matter because ultimately you are the one they're interviewing.
Oh, okay. So you mean through your communication, don't use too many I's, does that sound like, for lack of a better term, it may be too much, and when you're just speaking, they'll know that you did it. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Just explain the situation, how it went.
What's your view?
If I'm understanding your question correctly, I think it's not necessarily a matter of over-branding yourself. It's sort of speaking out of school and bragging in ways you may not have the statistics to back up. So one thing to always keep in mind is if you talk about qualities that you possess or things you bring to the table, as SK was saying, statistics to back that up, where it's not bragging and it will come off modest of, you don't have to go on and on about it. If you have a real life example or 5 real life examples of, I brought X number of, revenue went up a certain amount of percentage, or we got more traffic, and sort of talk about that in numbers. You don't need to worry about bragging because your work will speak for itself.
Okay. What we are saying is very true, is coming up with some stories. I like to tell my clients to bring at least 3 to 5 stories and where they not only brand their achievements, but also include, as you mentioned, the team. Because you don't do that by yourself. Even if you were a sales rep, you are a team, technical people working with the support. You need to embrace all of this and showing that your objective is to help the company and all the employees work all together and succeed all together.
Great, I'm glad you clarified that. So let's talk about body language. Wait. What role does your tone of voice, your body language, your grooming play a part in your decision? How confident the student is during the interview for Sarah and the SK and for recruiting and coaching clients for Jean-Marc?
It's key, the same thing as the word that you use and the way you convey you introduce yourself, your eyes contact, the tone of your voice, everything is very important. And as my coach and mentor in communications always say, if you can touch the person at an emotional level, you are closer to win the deal or to win the position. So always be obsessed to try to talk heart to heart. You really want to create that emotion. The person will remember you just for that. And even if you are not always comfortable, you are shy, but if you do this will help you along the way.
I definitely agree. I think that one thing that comes into any hiring process is, can we picture this person at our company? Is this someone that we would enjoy spending how many hours each day with? Because you spend so much time with your coworkers, whether they're full-time or an intern. And I would say, generally, just being as warm and receptive as possible is really important. And, you know, what we, or at least speaking for myself, what I try to do in interviews is just make the other person as comfortable as possible. It's sort of understandable, obviously, that especially in intern interview, the intern candidate will probably be pretty nervous. So just making the room relaxed and comfortable, and you know, at the end of the day, you guys just need to remember it's two people talking. It happens to be an interview, but it's still just two people having a conversation and getting to know each other. So you shouldn't be afraid to have eye contact, and you know, people want to hire candidates who are confident, you know, and again, not being modest is so important, as we talked about earlier, but confidence of this is someone who would be an enjoyment and value added is something that I think any employer thinks about in an interview.
In terms of the body language, the Korean interviews are fairly standard. Usually wear business attire, sit very still. When you actually work in a company, you are taught, even when making presentations, here in America you see in the PowerPoint, many presenters move around a lot, but in Korea you kind of stand very still, and even when you use the laser pointer, you pick the word, you don't circle the word, you pick the left side of the word and move slowly to the right and underline that word. So that kind of interview body language is what's expected. Not much advice I can give on this part, but for Korean companies, usually sitting straight and still, like maybe you are now.
Just one point is to make you feel more comfortable. If they decide to call you for an interview, that means they believe you are qualified for the job. They already established that. Their objective is to see, you mentioned, when this person starts to work, will it be a comfortable situation and environment for both of us? So it's about communication and establishing a relationship and showing to the person, I understand your pain. I'm here to help you. I'm here to create a solution so that both of us, we will win in the end. So you don't have to worry, oh, am I qualified? Do I have the degree? That they already decide that because they receive so many applications. They will only select those who are qualified. The next step is to say, okay, can we communicate with this person when the person is entered the office?
Thank you. Eye contact is also another big thing, difference between cultures. Some cultures might believe that eye contact is disrespect. The American cultures, lack of eye contact is disrespectful. So, as a counselor, we also see a lot of people with soft voices or shyness or kind of difficulty having eye contact with us as counselors, and I'm assuming they're even more nervous in front of an employer. So how could they, what is your impression of individuals who lack eye contact, and how does that play a role in the hiring process?
It's definitely, some people will see it as a weakness, and when I have a student like that where I'm trying to coach, I say to them, you might not be able to overcome that during your first interview because you will learn along the way. But as long as you create this type of emotion and you show that you are here to help, and this person who will interview you can also help you and overcome that. So the emotion and talking about the problem, even if you have a soft voice, as long as you show to the person, okay, I understand what you are saying. This is how I will help you. And along the way, you will get, you will learn how to be more confident. And one thing that I always say to the students is to get some practice. That's where networking can help. They go out, they talk, they pitch for themselves, and you have different clubs to learn about communication skill where you can learn this, and challenge yourself. Take some of your friends or classmates and ask them to ask you tough questions so that you can present, introduce yourself, and you will learn along the way.
I guess when I see people who have a lack of eye contact, it's obviously one, two, or both things, which is nervousness or like cultural differences, and especially with intern interviews, it's part of the course a little bit. So it wouldn't stop me from hiring someone. It's it's part of a larger question of overall decision making. But I would say that when you guys go into interviews, that one thing, and we touched on this a little bit for you to think about, is that this is an interview for you and the potential employer to get to know each other. It's not just for you to prove yourself, it's for you to also be a part of the decision making of, is this a place I actually want to work? And thinking about it that way, I think gives you some confidence, because it makes you realize you can also be proactive in your own decision making. You're not just hoping to be picked, but you may realize when you walk out that that's not a good fit for you. And that will give you confidence, which hopefully the eye contact will come along with that too.
It's definitely a two-way interview process, definitely. You should also be evaluating that job and that employer and whether or not you're a good fit for them. Not if they hire me, I'm it, or if they sponsor me, I'm it, no matter what.
But the shyness and this eye contact issues is the essential form of the defense against potential attackers. The child hides behind mother is the form of kind of defense. So to handle the situation is comprehend that's the situation. But three things I think to handle it right is the interview is really the respectful figure, authority, and you are talking respectful authority. So first thing is listen carefully what he's talking about. That's must be a priority. When you listen carefully, eye contact, all the other things come naturally. The second thing is speak respectfully too. And if you're speaking respectfully, the interviewer will know automatically. So this kind of nervousness issues will be avoided. And lastly is love the person, show that you're interested in the company. And when you really like the person, then all the other mannerisms come naturally. And how do you show you like them? You know about the company, the research, and all the other aspects of the program mentioned.
Thank you. One last question I'm going to open up to the group. What can international students do to enhance their chances for internship or employment given the competitive job market, and how can they stand out among other applicants?
I would say 3 things. Personal branding, as we mentioned, so being able to define your unique promise of value, how to differentiate your services, what you can do, and pick one niche, one industry, one specialty. Don't try to please everybody because you are trying to look for a job or an internship. Networking, so that you will learn how people in the same industry talk about their occupations, about their needs, about their passions, about their interests. And this will help you learn their language. This is key when you create your resume or your online presence, such as LinkedIn. You want to use the same words as people in your field are using, so that you don't come across like somebody who is new to the industry. And the last thing that I also do with my clients is to try to create opportunities where there is no job, just by asking questions. Because often I see students looking only after the advertisements, what is available online, and eventually Craigslist, Monster, all those things. And I'm telling them, this represents only 20% of the jobs available. And everybody goes to the same direction. Everybody trying to compete with the same job. And then, as foreign students, they will look after the company that are listing, sponsoring for H-1B. If you only target those companies, it will be tough. It's already hard, but it will be tougher. So try to go after those who are not advertising, but they all have issues, things to solve, and try to see how you could create a solution for them for whatever problem they have. And this will put you in a situation where basically they don't even advertise. And when I worked for my previous company, they never advertised they were hiring. But I arrived at one point where they were discussing about their issue. For these Russian students, the company, all they had, they didn't know how to promote their game using social media. But they had one issue, they didn't have the money to hire somebody. And I say, have you thought about hiring an intern? Maybe that person can help you. They say, why not? And all of that happened in a bar where we were discussing about what he was doing. So don't overlook just the advertisements of the post available.
I would say in any job process, international or not, it's just focus on and be very in tune with what are your strengths and how you can play to them and focus your job search on that. So for example, if one obvious strength that you have is that you speak more than one language, you would start by focusing your job search on narrowing down places where that would be value added to that company, because that would put you very much ahead of some of the competition in a lot of instances. And that's in terms of helping you focus your job search. Once you actually are in the interview, it's reiterating those strengths, which may include some relationships that you bring from the city or country that you're from, that again would be unique to you and value added, that would help out that job or industry.
Focusing on practical side, the extent from what you mentioned is three things. Since you are in first stage, you must get past the first stage. So on your resume, here's my advice to you: really do research and know everything about the company. First thing. Second thing is big names. Any big names, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies. If you did in a project or previous internship or dealt with some organization that is linked to it, then put it in the resume. And the third thing is competitors. It might be some medium-sized company that has a competitor in Europe, Austria, or somewhere. Then know what the competition is doing, and if you are able to integrate it into the interview process, mention about it, and what they are doing is compared to that company you're applying to. That's the very sure way of getting into the company. And since it's the last question, though, maybe sometimes you cannot even get the first stage. Then one primary characteristic I wish to leave you out with is then be able to predict the future. Meaning, so I give you the story. When my parents were young in Korea, they were studying, and Korea back in a very poor country, and teacher told them, my students, when you will become adults, every one of you will have a warm home, a car to drive in, and some asphalt road to ride smoothly. And now today, everyone has it. And the primary industries in Korea is steel, construction, the automobile, and those making the most success. In here, today, what can you imagine the future to be? And that future, take a part of it in a small way with what you can do. And start from there, and then when you expand upon it, then you can get past that first stage into the job. And so do not lose too much the hope of the desperation.
Thank you. That's so inspirational. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions for our panelists?
Almost all of you around targeting yourself with a specific focus or a specific field, but as I assume that many of us may be freshmen, we don't have previous experience or related experience, or we have some experience, but we kind of want to try new things. Let's say I was an accounting major, but now I want to try marketing. Do you think putting this in our resume or in our presentation will kind of reduce our possibility of getting the job? Do you care about if we do not have experience or we are totally in another field?
Is this a question specific for somebody?
No, it's a general question.
I would say that if you don't have this experience, you have to find ways to create them. So you can use, you can volunteer, learn with others about their occupation. So you say marketing. So if there's something in marketing that interests you in particular, if there is one thing, because it's very broad marketing, so try to find somebody who is already doing what you would like to do and try to interview that person. I love to advise to my clients to do informational interview. Basically, you go, you try to meet with somebody that you call eventually an expert, and you go, you ask them some question. Okay, why did you decide to join that field? What are you doing day after day? What are the challenges that you face? So that when you eventually find an opportunity, you don't come with almost no language. You are not you. You have some type of languages. And you can still say to the company, I'm still new in the field, but I'm learning. This is the plan. This is what I already discovered. That's the way, I would say, to address this question.
I would say specifically in terms of, you know, you're a lower class student and you, like an underclassman, and you are looking to, like, that's part of what an internship is about, is figuring out what you think you might want to do. So I don't know that not having any experience or being an accounting major but being interested in marketing is a disadvantage, because, you know, we've all been there, and you're not alone amongst your peers with that, you know. Another very easy way to get experience or show your interest and passion for marketing, even though it's not your major, is to look at what clubs there are on campus that won't discriminate based on the fact that you don't have any experience, and join those clubs. And that's another thing to articulate in your cover letter to that internship position is you don't need to address the fact that you're an accounting major, but you can focus on the fact that you have marketing passion, and here's why I'm in this club, or I love these marketing campaigns. You know, that's something that as a consumer you can have your own judgment about marketing.
This question is very, if you have some uncertainty about what you're doing, then very easy to solve. Imagine the company side. The company side received thousands of resumes and for some marketing internship. And there are students with marketing background, and naturally your resume will be put to the side. So to counter that, do some research or some other counter methods, then it's easier to comprehend.
Thank you so much. I will have, this is the end of our panel discussion. We also have an attorney by the name of Bernard Wolfsburg from Attorney at Law. He'll be speaking to you about the legal issues and the legal process of visas. I call it the ABCs of visas. But before that, you are able to network with our panelists in the library after Bernard's session. So we would like to thank you for coming here today. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time. The networking session will be in the library after Bernard's segment. So thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Hi, thank you for coming. Thank you so much.
I like to talk standing up. Thank you. We have some blue folders, if you could hand them out. It's Friday afternoon, it's a sunny day, and I want to get some energy going in this room to talk about the wonderful topic of visas. My name is Bernard Wolfsdorf. In one of these blue packages will be a free green card. Okay, let's see if you're concentrating or focusing on reality. Let's find out a little bit about who's in the audience. You can all contact me. My information is in there, 1-800-VISA-LAW. We have an office here in Santa Monica and an office in New York. I do most of the immigration work for UCLA, for the faculty, and for actually 4 or 5 of the UC campuses. Let me find out again, in terms of regions, just put up your hand. Asia. My wife's from Shanghai, so I always put my hand up. My kids speak fluent Mandarin. Europe, North America, Canada, one, good. South America, Oceania, Australia, New Zealand. Okay, need to focus in sciences. Who's in the sciences? STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Okay, good. Almost about half of you. I need that in order to focus. Most of you, any of you got OPT when you graduated? Okay, so you're coming up. The rest of you are still a little way away from OPT? Okay, good. So let me give you the reality. These folks have given you very clear instructions on how to get a job. I'm going to deal with, quite frankly, a very critical matter, which is called visas and sponsorship. The issue today is you need a permission to be employed in the United States, so-called authorization to be employed. And regrettably, employers are becoming somewhat more reluctant to go through the sponsorship period. So I want to give you this message of hope, this message of how do we actually navigate this, because what's happening in the United States today is the number of international students coming to the United States is just huge. It's almost doubling every year. I seem to get twice the turnout that I did when I do a lot of the workshops, but the visa category and the sponsorship process is not getting any easier. But there is a solution, and that's why I'm going to remain positive and upbeat. I always start with the conclusion. Almost 1 million green cards are issued every year. You folks are smart, you folks are UCLA graduates, you can clearly make those kind of statistics, get in that category of being 1 million. The reality, however, is it's a lot harder than one can imagine. So let's start with the good news first. Some of you already have your little OPT cards. How did it feel when the envelope came, a little plastic card? It was like a credit card arriving. Some of you have your OPT, right? Great, I'm authorized to be employed. And that's 12-month unrestricted employment authorization. And for those of you in the sciences, if you get a job offer with a E-Verify employer, what's an E-Verify employer? You can actually get a 17-month extension. So we're talking 29 months now, almost 3 years. So the simple reality is OPT is the way to get your foot in the door. All of you will be eligible to go through OPT, but the question is, what happens at the end of that 12 months? So if you get a job with an employer who's not ready to sponsor you for the H1 and to move on to the second stage, you basically are on a road going nowhere. And I always find that 10 months, 11 months. So when you get into OPT, where you do have the freedom to choose to some degree, you've got to start thinking of how am I going to get to the next stage? How am I going to get from OPT onto the H1, from OPT to the green card? Otherwise, you're going to be in a little bit of trouble. Okay, and I get that every year. I'm at 10 months, I've got 2 months left, what am I going to do? And the answer is you're going back to school, because there's nothing else you can do. So you're going to go register at UCLA Extension and re-strategize and start off again. Interesting little thing that a lot of people don't know. Immigration actually gave an opinion that you can, I'm always scared to give this advice, you can in fact open your own business on OPT. You can set up your own business. So those of you MBAs, those of you in sciences, those of you going to start your own, the next Facebook, yes, it is possible. Because I get that question all the time from students. Can I work? Can I do a business? Can I do this while I'm on an F1? And the answer is no, unless it's on-campus employment, subject to some restriction, or unless you have CPT, curricular practical training. Anybody heard of CPT? I'm not going to go into the arena of what your absolutely amazing DASHU office does. You all know the resources they have. You know the online OPT program they have. I believe it's kind of mandatory to get OPT. Please use the resources that you have here. I'm not going to duplicate that. I'm going to focus on strategies to get from OPT, which each one of you is going to be eligible for. You're aware of that. Strategies, once you've got your OPT, to move on to the H1, move on from the H1 to the green card, other possibilities such as an E2 visa, which allows, unfortunately China doesn't have it, India doesn't have it, Taiwan does, Korea does, Japan does, most of the European countries do, some of the South American countries, India no, but there are 8 countries under the E2 category which allow you to make an investment and run your own business, but it's a fairly large investment. It's something like $100,000 to even get your foot in the door. So let's go back to this critical topic of OPT. One of the most important things that I just want to mention with OPT, I've covered CPT, is that you can apply for OPT, I always got to check the dates, 90 days prior to completion of your program and not more than 60 days after the completion of your program. You've got this window to apply for OPT. 90 days prior to completion of your program. It takes about 60 days to get the card. So if you've only got 12 months of OPT, you've got to time this appropriately. Up to 90 days prior to completion of studies, you apply for your OPT card. That is your work card. And every year I seem to get this, somebody calls me at the 61 day and says, can I apply? And the answer is no, go back to school, UCLA extension. So the simple bottom line is watch that 120-day window, but sometimes you may want to give yourself a little bit of time because we all know, and we heard today, getting a job is not that easy. So you want to use that OPT in a very sophisticated way. Now, you've got your OPT card. Somebody in this audience got it, it arrives in the mail, nice plastic card, got your picture on it. You are now authorized to be employed in the United States, presumably in your field of expertise, but you can get general training and experience. You know, everything is going to somehow be connected other than cooking hamburgers at McDonald's. So, but even that may be connected. So the bottom line is you can get a job, get your foot in the door, and employers are legally only allowed to ask the question, do you have the right to be employed in the United States? Now, I'm not a labor lawyer, and I don't like suing people, and I don't like being sued, but an employer who asks you for a green card is violating the law. Okay? The law does not allow an employer to ask, do you have a green card because you have a funny accent like me? I was born in South Africa. I'm a US citizen. That is discrimination. It is absolutely prohibited. The employer is only allowed to ask the question, do you have the right to be employed? And sitting in your top pocket is this little plastic card. It feels nice, it's warm, it's right over your heart. And you say to yourself, yes, I've got my employment authorization card. So when they ask that question, you have got to, and again, I don't want to, you know, so there's a panel on ethics. I want you to be ethical, but I also want you to get a job. And we are following the law, and in my opinion, we're being ethical. You have the right to be employed in the United States. The answer is yes, because you have your plastic card right over your heart. It feels nice and warm. So you can answer yes. And UCLA kid got me on this. I was very impressed with her. You know, I said, you have the right to be employed. She said yes. I offered her the job, and then she said to me, oh, by the way, I have OPT. And I'm like, wow, she got me, great. And I ended up sponsoring her for an H1, and I was thrilled because it worked out really well. But that's how it is. Unfortunately, today, a lot of employers, we go to the career fairs, everywhere we go, and say, will not sponsor, will not sponsor. That is legal. They don't have to sponsor you. Okay? So this is a very tricky process. So when you're working for that employer, as much as it's tough to get a job, you've got to say to yourself, is this person going to sponsor me for an H1? And how do I do it? Now, another little negative that I love turning into a positive is that while you are on OPT, and this is a new restriction, unfortunately you are only allowed 90 days of unemployment. So during that 12-month period, if you are unemployed for more than 90 days, tough luck. You're violating status, and it's 120 days out of the 29-month period if you are STEM extension, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So you have this kind of problem because you've got this clock ticking on you. And the question is, how do you deal with that issue, with the fact that you know, you have your employment card, you can get your foot in the door, but if you don't get a job, you're actually out of status. What happens when we're out of status? I'm not going into that, but it's scary. Okay, it's scary. You cannot be out of status. That's not an option. The other word they use is illegal. So the simple bottom line is, what do? You volunteer. Where do you volunteer? I don't know. Come to my office. We're down the road. 20 hours a week. Anyway, no, you volunteer for a company that may well sponsor you further down the road. The key, and there's one phrase I want you to remember today, it's called getting your foot in the door. And I'm sure you've learned that through the week, that the critical element is to get your foot in the door. Americans are warm. Americans are compassionate. Companies want, but only if you're in the door. If you're outside the door, nothing's going to happen. If you get in the door, you get close, you work hard, you're all smart, you're all committed, you all bring amazing qualities that many kids who grew up in America simply don't have. You have drive. We heard from this gentleman about how his parents told him, and I hear that from my wife all the time about how her parents told her. This is something that happens when you grow up abroad. In America, you know, I'm like, oh, you know, I'm not tough enough on my kids. My wife is, so I see the difference between Asian culture and soft culture that I am. I'm always like, oh, you know, have some fun, and my wife hates the word fun. The idea is it's career and success and focusing, which is something that a lot of immigrants have, which gives you a huge advantage when you get into the employment scenario, because you are driven. You are driven to succeed and you will succeed. But if you don't have that opportunity, and you don't have that sponsorship, again, you're on a road going nowhere. So the key is you can use your unemployment by volunteering. Through volunteering, you network, you volunteer where, you know, I'm available, I'm ready to. The whole concept of volunteering, by the way, legally has got some issues. But if you volunteer up to 20 hours a week, and then you've got your OPT, the employer can in fact move forward. Let's talk about some serious problems. I want you to be realistic and I want you to be prepared. The H-1B visa, there are two problems. All of you basically will qualify for H-1Bs. The minimum requirement is a professional degree. There is a quota of 65,000 a year. This year it's starting to move quite quickly. Last year we ran out of quota about November. When was it? November 22 we ran out. My prediction is we're going to run out probably by September. The quota's moving fast this year. And what that means is that the employment market's actually picking up, the sponsorship's picking up, the job market is heating up a little bit this year, not by a lot, maybe 5%, 10%, but H-1B visas are moving quickly. So you have to be strategic in terms of when you apply for your H-1B. So your OPT expires, June, July, etc. The H-1 starts in October. I'm not going to get into cap closing. There's a whole lot of complicated issues. But as long as you file your H-1 before the end of your OPT, that automatically extends your OPT work authorization through to October 1, which is the beginning of the immigration fiscal year. Sorry, I know this stuff is complicated. By the way, we do online webinars. I think the next one is April 24, where we explain all of this transition. It takes quite a long time. Go to my website, wolfstorff.com. You can register. They're all free about life after OPT. So how you transition from OPT to H1. One of the things that I want to make, sorry, I never finished my thought. H-1B, the biggest problem we're having today is H-1B has to be paid a median wage or prevailing wage. A median wage is an average wage. This is a problem because many of you would come in at an entry level and then suddenly you'll find that the median wage or the average wage that's acceptable for an H-1B is actually pretty high. And employers don't want to pay it. I had one yesterday, it was an art director, they want to hire it. I said the median wage for an art director is $60,000. They said we're paying 42, I'm not sure we're going to jump 20. So we're having this problem. There may be another option, but the Department of Labor is trying to push the wages up, and employers tend to not want to be paying some of those wages. So that is a big, big issue we're having on H-1Bs. One of the things that I love doing, because I don't have a lot of time, is you have two types of visas. You have a non-immigrant visa and you have an immigrant visa. Immigration law is a huge and vast topic, but under the non-immigrant visa category, and you know it because you all have F1s, or we all have F1s. F1, any J's in the audience? A few J's. You may have some issues, but we'll talk about that afterwards. And again, I really come here, I am an immigration lawyer for faculty, for staff at UCLA, but I'm also available for students. There's 2 business cards in there, Blake Miller and my own. I'm harder to get hold of, call Blake. Our telephone number, this is corny, it's 1-800-VISA-LAW, but you're in New York, you have a problem, you just went for an interview, you freaked out, call 1-800-VISA-LAW and say UCLA. And if anybody tries to charge you, let me know, because these are all free consultations that we do for UCLA students. I know that sounds like a sales pitch, but actually we spend a lot of time giving free legal advice, and we don't get anything out of it, but it's good stuff. Point number 2, simple point. The H-1B may not be your option. The employer may not be prepared to sponsor you. There are a whole lot of other non-immigrant visas. Let's talk. I'm going to cover the whole of immigration law in about 7 minutes. I'm going to talk really fast, so this is going to get a little bit confusing. Non-immigrant visas. All right? You all have the F1. They start off with an A. An A is a diplomatic visa. You can work at a consulate. A1, A2. Reach out to consulates. There are sorts of jobs, even if it's not your own consulate. B visa, that's a visitor's visa, not much good. C visa is a transit visa. D visa is a crewman visa. The E visa I already spoke about. If you have a treaty, you can set up your own business. The F visa, you all have it. It gives you your OPT work authorization. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you go and work for the World Bank, that's a G visa. I visa, media visa, you go and work for a website in Taiwan and you start doing reporting, but you need an international media credential. HIJ visa, not very useful, can get you stuck a little bit. HIJK visa, fiance visa, just get married if you love him anyway, or her. Forget about the K. HIJKL visa, that's a company transfer visa. If you were employed abroad for 1 year in the 3 years prior to being transferred, HIJKL. M visa, vocational visa, not much good. N visa for NATO workers. O visa, extraordinary ability. You know, I love this one. It's extraordinary ability in anything. I don't know what you do. You're a chess player. I had a young Chinese lady who's a top chess player. O visa. P visa, performing arts. P1, P2, P3. Did I leave out the H? I don't even know my own alphabet. I'm trying to go very, very fast, but really what I'm trying to do is to explain to you that there is a full smorgasbord of visa opportunities besides the H-1B, which you all know about. So we're on a P1, that's performing arts visa. LMNOPQ, I don't know my alphabet, obviously. Culturally unique visa, R visa, religious work visa, you know, you're a youth minister in the church, great. Our S visa, that's a... The S visa, I don't like the S visa. She likes the S visa. It's a snitch visa. T visa, victim of trafficking. U visa, victim of crime. But the point is, let's not get into all these visa categories. Let's just know that there are numerous opportunities that are available that may fit you other than the H-1B visa, which pretty much everyone knows about. All right, we're finished with non-immigrant visas. What is a non-immigrant visa? It allows you to stay in the United States for a short period of time. Really, if you want to be in the United States, you want to live in the United States, you've got to go for a green card. Okay, and the green card is green again. What is a green card? A green card is the right to live and work in the United States for your entire life. And after 5 years to become an American citizen, some countries don't allow dual citizenship, such as China. Some countries, like European countries, do allow dual citizenship, so you end up with 2 different passports, and that's just fine as far as the United States is concerned. Okay, so green card. How do we get a green card? Basically 2 ways to get a green card. There's family sponsorship. Okay, family sponsorship generally does not work because the waiting lines are too long. Other than immediate relative. What is immediate relative? It is when you get married. Now, I'm very conservative on this one. If you're going to get married, remember something. How long does it take to get a green card for marriage? Anybody? 1, 2, 3, 4, yes? Ha! Wrong. It takes about 8 months to get your conditional green card. It takes about 4 years to get your full green card. 4 years. So if it falls apart, we're in trouble. How many of you have been in a relationship for 4 years or more? 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, my point is don't get married for a green card. Make sure that this is the marriage that you want and it is going to take you through your whole life. And I'm very conservative. If it falls apart, you're going to be calling me and I've got a really good messy case. Okay, immigrant visas, family immigration, first preference, second preference, third preference, fourth preference. You've got a brother or sister who's a US citizen. Terrible, waiting lines are much too long. All right, let's throw away family immigration. Let's talk about employment immigration. Employment immigration, first preference, second preference, third preference, fourth preference, fifth preference. First preference, really good. That's the extraordinary ability, outstanding. How many of you are PhDs or going to be PhDs? Not too many, a few of you. I'm doing a workshop on the 24th for the PhDs, postdoc workshop, the Society of Postdocs. That's a specialized thing on Tuesday. Where I focus specifically on the extraordinary ability visas for the PhDs and the postdocs and explain to them. That's a good one. There are opportunities, extraordinary ability, national interest waiver, outstanding researchers, outstanding scientists. Only a small number of you are going to qualify for that. Second preference, national interest waivers. How many of you heard of that one? Second preference, national interest waivers. You guys haven't been doing your homework. If you have a master's degree and your work is in the national interest, you can actually self-sponsor for a green card. It's a lot more difficult than it sounds, but at least understand that that door is open. Second preference, national interest waiver. Who knows anything about retrogression? Retrogression, quotas, nobody. Okay, China's backlog, India's backlog, you have to wait 3 or 4 years. So employment, immigration, I'm going too fast, you're getting all confused. First preference, PhDs, outstanding. Second preference, masters. Third preference is bachelor's degree only. How long does it take to get a green card through third preference sponsorship? Anybody? Okay, we've got a beginner audience. Okay, it's 5 to 7 years. It's a terrible wait. So first preference, second preference, third preference, terrible. Fourth preference is basically religious workers. Fifth preference, EB5. Anybody heard that word? EB5? EB5 green card? Nobody in here is rich. Okay, that is the $1 million investor or $500,000 investor. The program is very popular at this point. Okay, what have I done? I have focused right now on OPT, which is your primary work visa, that is your foot in the door work visa, that gets you started. That is something that each one of you is going to be eligible for. And then I spoke about the non-immigrant visa options, which is the full range of non-immigrant visas that will allow you to go on beyond your OPT. And then I spoke about how to get a green card. And in terms of speaking about green cards, I spoke about family immigration. I spoke about marriage as being a potentially viable one if you love that person and are committed and will remain together forever, or at least 5 years. Sorry, talk like that. But you know, phony marriage, don't touch it. It doesn't work. It's bad news. Don't come to my office. You're going to get caught. So the simple bottom line is family immigration is a viable option, but only through the immediate relative category. Oh, and by the way, once you become a citizen, you can then sponsor your parents for a green card. That's the other immediate relative category. So, you know, sorry if I'm doing this Asian thing, but I live in a sort of household that is very challenged. Then you sponsor your parents and you have to bring them in and take care of them when they get old, because it's every Asian kid's duty to look after their parents. Is that correct? Yes. At least if it's mine. It's less so Western country. Sorry, I'm being a little bit like biased here, but it's all fun stuff anyway. But it's important because once you become a citizen, then you can in fact sponsor your parents and bring them over and look after them when they get old, which is a nice thing to do. So that's when you become an American citizen, the step, of course, after the green card. So I spoke about family immigration, and I spoke about employment immigration, and I told you if you've got a PhD, it's going to be a pretty good case. If you've got a master's degree, it's not a bad case. And if you've only got a bachelor's degree, it's a crummy case, because it's going to take too long to sponsor you for a green card. However, there is a requirement that if you have a bachelor's degree plus 5 years of work experience, that's the equivalent of a master's degree. There are other things like refugee, asylum, and all those kind of baloney things. I don't want to spend too much time getting into it because I don't have a lot of time. But what I've tried to do is give you a broad view of how the U.S. immigration system works. I can tell you it's complicated, it's difficult. Unfortunately, the United States attitude today is not as welcoming as it has been in the past. We're a nation of immigrants, and yet the reality is you've got a challenge. My office is a resource for you. Obviously, there are a lot of good immigration lawyers. If you choose an immigration lawyer, try and choose somebody who is a so-called specialist. There's about 100 of us in the state of California who are specialists. There's a lot of scam artists. There are a lot of people promising you all sorts of things, and then you get cheated, you get robbed, and you get deported on top of it. So that's a problem. Be very careful who you select in using an immigration lawyer. As I say, we are a resource, but we're obviously not the only resource. So I had to speak very, very quickly. It's Friday afternoon. You've been going for a long time. I'm trying to be a little bit entertaining here. Speaking too fast, I'll get a reward for that. And I think this young lady wants to ask me a question. No? Yes? Questions from the audience. Who found the free green card in the package? Okay. Any questions? Confusion? You've all got it? No questions? I'm surprised. It means I didn't connect with you guys. Anything not clear? Yes, Tim. Yes. Yes. Internship while you're on F1 status, that's before OPT.
Yeah, before.
You know, firstly, I don't give, I'm very cautious in giving advice. You've got to speak to your counselor and dash you on that. You know, an unpaid internship, I mean, the whole area of unpaid internships is a minefield. The Department of Labor takes the position there is no such thing because you're supposed to be covered. If you're covered under workman's comp, technically that's a benefit. Is it unauthorized employment? I want you to speak to your counselor before I okay it, because I don't want them to say, Bernie said it was good, I'll get a call from them the next day. I do know that kind of thing goes on, and I want you to think about something called CPT, Curriculum Practical Training, which may be relevant to your coursework and could actually be authorized, employment authorization during the campus year. So coordinate it with them, like at Anderson and various other specialty when you're doing advanced studies. They may authorize CPT in as much as it relates directly to your area of academic study. Question number 2, 1, 2, yes, dear. Okay, only time for one, but I'm not running away. My email's in here. It's my name, Bernard@Wolfsdorf. My telephone number you all have. You're stuck in New York, you call my New York office, and you don't tell me your name, you just say you do that. Yes, dear.
Like there are many companies say that they don't need that for students. So
I think they're not willing. They don't want to go through the process. How much is the H-1B government filing fee, anybody? 1, 2, 3. Okay, you guys need to read my package. It's got all this non-immigrant visas. It's got information about the H-1B. The H-1B government filing fee is about $2,650. You know, why do we want to spend that? And then you've got the legal fee on top of it. So, you know, we're spending $5,000, $6,000. And we're going through this process of dealing with Homeland Security when there's plenty of qualified Americans out there today. You may be smarter, you may be better than the other candidates, but a lot of employers just don't want to go through the hassle of sponsorship and filing and dealing with lawyers and all this kind of thing when there's potentially qualified American workers. So that's why the focus of this presentation is when you've got your OPT, focus on an employer who will go forward with the sponsorship process. My office does that in terms of if we hire someone on OPT. So if you've got one job offer at $100,000, that's only going to be for your OPT period, and another one at $50,000, and they're ready to sponsor it, you are going to take the $50,000 job offer. You've got to say to yourself, will this employer sponsor me? That's, of course, unless you've been in a relationship and you're committed and you're going to get married and you're going to love this person forever, and there's a visa opportunity through that, which is why I explained to you that H-1B is not the only viable option. Many people will end up getting immigration benefits. The Canadians, you've got the TN visa. If there's anybody from Mexico, there's TN options, there's investor options. I spoke about all these other options, but I think Sanaz is giving me body language that I'm out of time. So it's been wonderful speaking to you. I do this every year, so if you're not graduating, come back next year. Make sure you bring your friends, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you.